You know how they say a season is a marathon, not a sprint? Well, sometimes everything can change in a single weekend. That's exactly what happened for Liverpool back in early 2026. It took just 72 hours to go from total frustration to a whole new sense of hope. We're going to break down exactly how that one weekend flipped the entire script.
So picture this. Your team's in a slump, the manager's under some serious pressure. What can really change in just 72 hours? You might think, not much, right? Well, for Liverpool, the answer was pretty much everything. This is the story of how one weekend completely redefined their season.
All right, so let's set the stage. Our story kicks off right on the pitch at Anfield. It's January 31st, 2026. The mood is, let's just say it's tense. It's a huge game against Newcastle. And after a really rough start to the year, everyone, the club, the players, and especially the fans, they were desperate for something, anything to feel good about.
And boy, did they get it. A massive 4-1 win. I mean, this wasn't just scraping by for 3 points. No, this was a statement. It was dominant. For the first time in what felt like forever, the team played with that kind of confidence and clear purpose we'd all been waiting to see under Arne Slot. This was the breakthrough.
And to really get why this win was so huge, you have to understand this number, 5. That's how many league matches Liverpool had gone without a single win. Think about that. So this victory, it wasn't just about the 3 points, it was about finally, decisively ending this awful momentum-killing streak. And if that wasn't enough, get this. This was their first Premier League win of the entire year. The first one of 2026. To go all the way to the last day of January to get that first W on the board, that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of pressure cooker that team was in.
So, what was the reward for finally getting that win? Well, it pushed them up to 5th place. And maybe just as sweet for the fans, it meant leaping right over our rivals, Manchester United, in the table. You know that's more than just a number. That's a huge psychological win, a massive boost that puts you right back in the fight for Europe.
So, who were the guys who made it happen on the day? Well, Hugo Ekitike was absolutely on fire, bagging a couple of goals with that killer instinct we were starting to see more of. Florian Wirtz, he was doing his thing, just pulling all the strings in midfield and chipping in with a goal himself. But the real story, the one everyone was talking about, was Ibrahima Konate.
Yeah, Ibu's goal, that was the emotional core of the entire day. For him to come back into the team after dealing with a family tragedy and to score, man, that was a moment that was so much bigger than football. It just speaks volumes about his character, his strength, and it was a powerful reminder of what a leader he is in that dressing room.
Okay, so the good vibes from the win didn't just stay on the pitch. Nope, they carried right over into the boardroom. Because the very next day, with the clock ticking down on the transfer window, the club was about to make a huge move.
And this right here really shows you the two paths the club was facing. On one side, you had the short-term fix. They were looking at Geertruida for a last-minute loan to plug a gap. That deal fell apart. But on the other side was the long-term plan, securing their main target, Jérémy Jacquet. So what does that tell you? It shows Liverpool made a conscious choice to prioritize a guaranteed top talent for the future, instead of a last-minute panic buy.
Which brings us to the big one, winning the race for Jacquet. Honestly, this was probably the biggest news of the entire window for them. The defense needed a real long-term anchor, and Liverpool went out and made a massive move to lock down their future.
So let's talk about Jérémy Jacquet. We're talking about a 20-year-old top-rated center back from Rennes that a lot of clubs wanted. Liverpool locked him down for a reported £55 million plus add-ons, with him joining in the summer. And let's be clear, this wasn't just filling a spot. This was a major investment in the future of Liverpool's defense.
And check this out, this wasn't some last-minute scramble. They played this perfectly. First, Jacquet was a key long-term target they've been watching for a while. They moved fast to get ahead of Chelsea. Then, they got that crucial pre-agreement with the player himself, and that move was absolutely vital because it helped them fight off a late, last-ditch hijack attempt from, guess who? Manchester United. That right there is smart, proactive business.
So let's just recap for a second. You get a massive win on Saturday, and then a huge new signing is announced on Sunday. Can you imagine the buzz? The impact was instant. It just sent this wave of positivity through the entire club, from the players to the fans.
And you could literally hear the shift in the dressing room. Listen to this, from left-back Milos Kerkez. He said the win was brilliant, and he talked about the fight and the work rate. But the key part, for me, is when he said, hopefully, this is our standard now. That's not just a nice quote. That's the sound of confidence and belief flooding back into the team. And that belief, it spread right to the fans. Take a look at this. It's a quick snapshot of how supporters were feeling. The biggest chunk there? Renewed optimism. Now sure, after the month they'd had, you still got some folks feeling cautiously hopeful, and a few still frustrated, but the main takeaway is that the entire mood, the entire feeling around the club had shifted in a really positive way.
So, as if the huge win and the massive signing weren't enough, there was one more piece of the puzzle that fell into place. And this one was a bit of a lucky break. It had nothing to do with what happened on the pitch, but it gave Liverpool a massive advantage.
It all came down to the fixture list. So, because of a rescheduled game and the fact they got to skip a European playoff round, Liverpool were suddenly given something that's like gold dust in modern football. Time. Actual breathing room. In a month that was supposed to be absolutely packed, they suddenly had space.
And this just shows you how big of a deal that was. Look at the difference here. In January, they played a grueling 8 matches. Then you look at February, and that number drops all the way down to 5. I mean, that is a huge, huge reduction in the physical and mental strain on the players.
So what do you do with all that extra time?
Well, it means you actually get quality time on the training ground to work on tactics. It means players can properly recover, which is so important. It gave Arne Slot and his coaches a real chance to reset and build some stability after that crazy January. Simply put, it was a massive strategic gift.
So let's just pull this all together and look at the timeline. January 31st, a huge 4-1 win completely changes the mood. February 1st, the very next day, a massive long-term signing is announced, securing the future. And by February 2nd, all that good news gets combined with the gift of a lighter schedule. It was just the perfect storm of positivity, all crammed into one incredible 72-hour window.
And that leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Was this wild 72-hour ride just a short-term boost, a quick moment of relief? Or was this the actual turning point that got Liverpool's whole season back on track? I guess, as always in football, only time would tell.